What you are listening to now is the IU Report with Grant Shouse. On this week's IU Report, Grant talks about IU Football Media Day with head coach Curt Cignetti making waves once again. Of course, IU football is going to be the main topic of the IU Report for the next, 15 weeks or so. He also talks about his less than stellar experience going to Hinkle Fieldhouse to watch the Assembly Ball TBT team, and Grant also honors the late Bob Hammel.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, IU fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report with Grant Shouse. Grant is here with me today on the Riverside app to talk some football and some basketball. And Media Day was Tuesday, Grant, and what did we learn?
We learned that the charisma and the wittiness of the head coach did not go anywhere in the offseason. When asked why Indiana canceled a home-and-home series with Virginia next season, the answer was pretty simple, and it was that Indiana has taken the SEC's approaching to scheduling games, and it's the fact that Indiana's non-conference schedule is very weak. It's weak this year, it's weak next year, it's weak in 2 years, it's weak in 3 years, and it's weak even in, I think, 5 years. I don't know why he wants to do it like that. I don't have any problem with it. I really love the quote. We want to take the approach that the SEC takes, and he's right. And I think even the rest of the conference is backing him up, surprisingly, in that statement. And another quote I really liked from him is that he said, before I retire, Coach Cignetti said, before I retire, that stadium's going to look a whole lot different. So that could be kind of teasing to a renovation project coming in the next coming years. And he also said that there will be a new press box at some point, which is, I think, good because that press box is such an eyesore. And it's almost atrocious. It's almost a joke for a Big Ten school.
Grant, speaking of jokes, I can't let you get away with this. Not you, with Coach Cignetti. This SEC schedule. Let me go through some of the games SEC teams play this year. Texas is at Ohio State. LSU's at Clemson. Alabama's at Florida State. Oklahoma takes on Michigan. Texas A&M plays Notre Dame. Florida plays Miami. Auburn plays Baylor. Missouri plays Kansas. They can at least play someone like Kentucky or Virginia. Give me a break. At least on that school, for the love of...
I see what you're saying, but the SEC only plays 8 conference games, and the Big Ten's playing 9 games. And we're going to sit here and have that conversation the entire year. I mean, we're going to be talking. That's going to be
and the year after that. Let's hope it doesn't cost them a playoff spot.
I'm not sure that it will. I mean, if Indiana can run the table again and be 11-1, it's still going to be the same story. They're still.
But what if they're 10-2 and they're borderline? The committee's going to go, yeah, they played Indiana State for. And
I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
yeah.
The schedule was made well in advance. That Virginia series was not for this year. That's for next year.
Right.
And who's to say they can't? I mean, who's to say they can't pick up another power conference opponent for the next coming years? I mean, those aren't set. Those can get canceled. Those can get added. Those can be made up at another point.
But it really sounded like this is what he wants.
I don't know why. That'd be a question you'd have to ask him. Honestly, I try not to let the outside noise get to me because at the end of the day, like, I'm not sure that really matters. Like, you play the game on the field. You don't play the game on social media. You don't play the game on the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, You play the game in between the white lines. And I think that's more important to him and his staff. And if other fan bases and hell, other staffs around the country want to be more concerned with that, then let them spend their time. Let those other teams spend time talking about that and not talking about the game and not talking about how they want to go out there and beat somebody. My favorite quote from him yesterday, and this is such a powerful coach's quote, is that somebody asked him, "What gives you the most satisfaction?" And his answer was simple: beating somebody's ass gives him the most satisfaction. If any, I mean, I feel like probably every coach thinks that, but a lot of coaches don't say those things.
Right. That's why we love him.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've noticed, and I noticed this literally from the very first press conference that he was introduced at. The guy is not very fond of the media, and he's not the first Indiana coach in the school's history to be fond of the media or to not be fond of the media. And I think it's kind of funny watching him do the things he does up there, like checking his watch, every once in a while, checking that watch. What time is it? How many questions we got left? And so when he, I think, gets aggravated and gets frustrated with some of these questions, because he's not a media guy, and there's coaches like that. I mean, from your years of covering sports that there's just people who don't want to talk to the media. They don't want anything to do with it. They do it because they're obligated to do it. But when he doesn't like questions, or the questions are too stupid or whatever, and I've dealt with coaches like that too, then you give answers that make the interviewer or the questionnaire look stupid. So that's why you get the kind of quotes that you get from him, like we beat the shit out of top 25 teams. Well, they don't. They haven't yet. We thought they would last year, but they haven't yet. That's when you get the quotes like, we've taken the SEC's approach to scheduling. That's when you get probably his most famous quote, the most famous quote in this guy's tenure, and it came before his first season, is in Google Me. So it's all about the psychiatric. You can look at how he treats people. I'm not saying he's a mean guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he's
He's
a
prickly.
rude guy, like in person. I just think that he doesn't deal well with answering questions. And when the questions are stupid and they're repeated all the time, and just because those reporters are looking for to get a quote like that, to get something like Google Me. And I mean, it is what it is. I try not to look into that stuff. I find it, that's why he says the things that he says. That would be my answer to it. But there's no excuse. You should be playing Virginia. I agree. I don't like that move of canceling the series. I get what you're saying. It's Virginia. We're not
Exactly.
canceling a series with Alabama. We're not canceling a series with Georgia or Texas. This is Virginia. Indiana has played Virginia
Yes.
about almost, I'd say, probably 7-8 years ago. They played Virginia and won. I remember they won on the road at Virginia. And he said that he wouldn't be opposed to having kind of a conference challenge, kind of like how college basketball has it, where like a Big Ten team plays an SEC team, or they play an ACC team. He said he wouldn't be opposed to that. And honestly, as a fan, I wouldn't be opposed to that either if you were able to set it up, because TV would kind of dictate that. They would want Ohio State to play someone like Alabama, or Michigan to play Texas or Oklahoma, and you give a team like Indiana, let them play Missouri, let them play Kentucky, Vanderbilt, someone their speed. They're going to try and get a good
Yeah.
matchup. They're not going to try and punish at school. They're not going to give Purdue, Alabama to play. They're going to make the matchups even. And you look at the SEC, and you have programs like Missouri that's solid, Vanderbilt, which is kind of the SEC's version of Indiana a little bit, like never have been good. And then the last year or so, they have kind of flipped things around. Their culture's changed a little bit. So I wouldn't be opposed to Indiana playing an SEC school, but
Indiana Ole Miss would be
I'll
awesome.
give the SEC credit, man. That schedule is just an absolute gauntlet. It's just an absolute run of the mill. but it's tough. It's always tough.
All right, what are you hearing about Fernando Mendoza?
We've said it on here before, and I'll say it again. We'll talk about it a lot more. Is that if you liked Curtis Rourke, you're gonna love Fernando Mendoza, and he's more mobile than Curtis Rourke was. Not to make excuses, but I think Curtis Rourke and him playing on basically I don't want to say a broken leg, but a torn ACL all of last season, I think kind of derailed his mobility a little bit. I think he had a tough time moving. Mendoza can move. I mean, Cignetti said that you're not guaranteed your starting spot. He may not be the starter. I mean, he probably is going to be, but you have to earn those kind of things. So, to that staff, he may not even be the best quarterback on the roster. Now, he's going to be the starter, but those things get dictated before the season starts in fall camp, which is starting here, I believe, probably next week, the week after, a week and a half. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be fun to watch. He's coming over from Cal. He can throw the ball. He can move with the ball. And with a new quarterbacks coach in Chandler Whitmer, after they lost Tino Sinceri, unfortunately, that was honestly crushing to lose Tino Sinceri, your offensive coordinator, your co-offensive coordinator that basically just dealt with the quarterback and Curtis Rourke last year. But if you had to pick between the four guys to go and between Cignetti, Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator, and Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, and Tino Sinceri, no disrespect, but I think you want Sinceri gone out of those four. You can't afford to lose your DC, your main OC, and of course your head coach. I trust in Mendoza. I trust in his new coach, and time will only tell. Those 3 weeks aren't going to give us any. Those first 3 weeks aren't going to give us anything on what's telling us about this team. We're going to know a lot more about this team week 4 against Illinois.
All right, and of course, Grant, you and I will be talking IU football from now till the end of the season, so we're going to have plenty of time to preview the team, but what we know for sure is this defense should be great.
It should be. I mean, you're returning a lot from last year, adding some new pieces. A big key addition will be a guy by the name of Kellen Wyatt, who comes over from the University of Maryland in a linebacker spot. He's a huge addition. You also have a guy by the name of Tyree Tucker on the defensive line. And then you return guys like Mikael Kamara, who is an All-American, Aiden Fisher, another linebacker, and then D'Angelo Pons, who is on his way to being maybe my all-time favorite Indiana football player. I think the defense is in good hands, and I think you have a top three. I mean, there's no bias just from watching it and from hearing other people talk, but I think you have a top 3 defensive coordinator in the country in Bryant Haynes. I mean, Cignetti said in the media days that the Blue Bloods were after this guy. I mean, Penn State, I know for sure was heavily after this guy to get him to replace, funny enough, Tom Allen, the former Indiana coach, as their defensive coordinator. And Indiana was able to cough up the money. And that shows a lot as to what the athletic department is saying about is saying and thinking about football, and that they want to keep these guys. They don't want that to be a one-hit wonder last year. They don't want that to be a one-year thing. We want to keep this consistency, and the biggest thing is keeping the staff, keeping those assistant coaches on the staff. The defensive staff is really good, and then of course those guys that I mentioned are also really good as well. And so the defense last year in games, I was like, what are we doing? Like wake up. And then there'd be other times when I'm like, dude, this is the best defense in the country. And they could beat almost at least every game. At least every game that I was at and I noticed, and maybe every game I guess that I watched. I watched all of them. There would be maybe 1 or 2 or sometimes even 3 drives, especially in the games that they won, that they would suck and they would lay an egg. And that's when you're like, okay, what are we doing? and then that would get corrected either at halftime or in a timeout, in the locker room, or wherever on the sideline, and that would get fixed. And it happened in the first half, happened in the second half at some points, but that defense would almost get lazy. You could almost see like they were tired. They were kind of sucking for air, and those things got corrected. Sometimes your greatest defense can be your offense. I know it sounds nuts, but keeping your defense off the field is so crucial. And with how good Indiana's offense was last year, that defense got plenty of rest. So when they would kind of slip up and not do very well is because the offense was off of the field quick. It was a 3 and out, or it was get a first down, and then it was 3 plays and off the field. So there's just certain things that go into it, but I think maybe this defense is going to be way more consistent than they were last year, and they could be really consistent at some points.
I see that Purdue's new coach, Barry Odom, has ingratiated himself down in Bloomington.
Who is it? I'm
Purdue.
serious. What's his name?
Barry Odom.
Oh, they have a football team?
They do.
Okay. I didn't know. I knew they had a basketball team. That's good to know they got a football team. So this Barry Odom said what? Oh, now that I think about it, I think he said something. And I didn't know it was him. I knew it was another coach in the conference. So it had to be someone I knew had a football team, but that surprises me because I didn't know they had a football team. Okay, so I think he said that we could be like another school in our conference or in our state and cancel series with other opponents, and we're going to play the teams that we're scheduled to play. Like, that's fine, but it's going to be really funny. Like you guys say that, and then it's going to be really funny when week 1 the Ball State Cardinals come over there and win. So, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, then dude, you're going to be in for a field day.
Hey, Cignetti talked an awful lot before his first season as well. Let's not forget this.
That is true, and his was a lot more like direct. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with what he said. To be honest, I mean, jokes aside, I don't have a problem with what he said. I mean, it is what it is. We're all entitled to our own opinion, and his opinion, whether it's right or wrong, I think time will tell. That's why if I was a Purdue fan, I would have had no problem with what Cignetti said at that basketball game about Purdue sucks and so does Michigan, Ohio State. It's like okay, we'll let the game dictate that, you know. Like who cares if I really don't care what he said.
Let's hope, Grant, that Barry Odom lifts that program to the point where the rivalry at least matters.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And I know Purdue's approach to their football program is going to be different. And those Purdue fans can sit there and say what they want, but if it wasn't for Indiana doing what Indiana did last year, and if Indiana wasn't very good or still had Tom Allen and didn't go on this rise and beat their ass 66-0 last year, then they'd still be stuck with Ryan Walters. It's so cool, I think, to see the fact that Indiana maybe is setting a little bit of a trend here, in that because of the success that they had, then other schools who don't have a great football program or haven't had a great football program in the last few years are like, okay, we can do this too. We just have to find the right guy to lead it. And even Indiana's athletic department had to do that with another sport across the parking lot too, because they're watching the athletic department is watching what the football team is doing there at Indiana, having this unbelievable turnaround, and people are in the stands, and it's a culture shock, it's a culture change, and the athletic department sitting there like, dude, we have to do this with the basketball team too. So that's why they did what they did last year and basically forced Mike Woodson into retirement. And then they go and hire a coach that hopefully will be able to change the ways a little bit So that's kind of my take on it. But you're right. I hope Indiana and Purdue can get back to a good rivalry, not just in football, but also in basketball as well. I'm looking forward to that game on Black Friday this year on November the 20th.
I do not believe Purdue will finish in last place in the Big Ten, Grant. I believe they will win at least 2 Big Ten games. You were at Butler, and you were not impressed with what IU did, right?
No, I wasn't. And I was very angry. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't really angry at what the product I saw on the floor with Assembly Ball on Saturday against a team called Fail Harder, which is a team with a lot of Indianapolis-based guys that are from Indy or went to college in Indy, guys that played at IUP, INU. I think there was a couple dudes that had played at Marion at one time, and that team actually, that Fail Harder team that beat IU's team in Assembly Ball in the TBT, actually ended up winning that region. And so they're moving, and they're actually like in the Elite Eight or whatever. They're actually in the Elite Eight of T. And they beat the Ohio State team on Tuesday, a team called Carmen's Crew. Actually, that Fail Harder team that beat the IU team won that. My thing is that what gets me with that, they did all of this promoting for months leading up to it. Come out, we're going to have James Blackman Jr. on the team. We're going to have Christian Watford on the team. There's another guy. Oh, Yogi Ferrell's going to be there, man. Yeah, it's so cool, man. We're going to have all these guys coming back. This team's going to be awesome. And then they don't play. They don't even dress. They sit on the bench. It's a PR thing. It's to sell tickets. It's not about winning. It's not about the money with these guys. It's literally about selling the tickets and getting the people to come watch. Jawan Morgan, did the dude even play ball since he graduated? Troy Williams is as wide as he is tall now. Do you remember Troy Williams, Greg?
Yep.
He sucks. He sucks, man. Oh my gosh.
So it's not the tournament you don't like. It's not the idea. It's that if you're going to do it, you got to do it.
Yes, don't rob these people of their money. You're just taking money. All you're doing is stealing money from these people by saying, oh, well, we got James Black, we got Yogi Ferrell, Christian Watford, all these guys. Man, Miller Kopp's going to be. Miller Kopp wasn't even there. But I understand why. He was playing I think he was still playing in the Summer League. So I get it. If you knew that was going to conflict, then why even try and get the dude to come play? Race Thompson, oh my gosh, dude, I forgot how mad that dude used to make me. He's been gone for 2 years, and then I watch him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I remember being so mad because of that guy. And then you have guys that are on the roster like this Quentin Patterson, who actually give a crap. Like he played hard. They give a crap. Then you have guys like Al Durham, who kind of played hard, who kind of cared a little bit. The dude I really liked on the team was Luke Fisher, who started at Indiana and then went to Marquette in his career. Big dude. I was impressed with him, but I hope to God they never assemble that team again. Don't do the assembly ball anymore. We're good. You've done it for 2 years now. You scammed us 2 years in a row. We let the first year slide because they actually did have some dudes out there playing. Jordan Halls, who is like in his I don't know how old he is, but he's in his 30s, probably early to mid 30s, dude. And he's only good for like 3 minutes to come in and maybe shoot a couple shots.
Needs to be
But
redone.
other than that, don't even put him out there. Don't suit him up. Don't even want to see Watford at this point. It's all good. Blackman, and I think James was hurt, and I think he had just had surgery or he's going to have surgery. And I get it. Yogi's old, and they may be in some pain, but it's like, it's not the fact that they didn't play. It's not the fact they chose to sit out, because there's certain reasons that they're doing it. But if you know that these guys are probably going to sit out and they tell you well in advance that they're probably going to sit out, then why the hell are you even telling people that they're coming here and playing? Don't do it again. We're good. We don't need it. I'm not going to that thing next year if they're in it. I'm not going when they play. I'm only giving them money if I can see they can win. I am not wasting my money on 2 tickets for me and my dad or me and my girlfriend to go watch that garbage if you're not going to compete. And it reminded me of how frustrating Indiana basketball has gotten over the years, because it literally was the same effort. Like, it was the same crap, Greg. And I hope they never do it again. And that's my rant on it.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
And kind of a sad week in Bloomington and for the media world. The world lost a media legend, Grant.
Yeah. Bob Hammel passed away over the weekend, and he was a guy that started off just up the road from where I'm at in Huntington, Indiana. And I guess I didn't really realize this until kind of doing some research on him. He was very smart. And he ended up going to college at Indiana when he was like 16 or 17 years old. After his first year at Indiana, he had gotten a call, or somebody had reached out to him from back home in Huntington wanting to know if he wanted to be the sports director of the Huntington newspaper. The guy was 17 years old. I mean, he'd be a junior in high. I mean, imagine a junior in high school being in charge of the sports department at a newspaper. That even then was unheard of. It's not certainly unheard of now because of just how scarce that kind of stuff has become. So he then returned to Bloomington. He worked, I know he worked in Peru at one time. He worked some other places, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis. And he finally made his way back to Bloomington. And this was a guy that loved sports and was just an encyclopedia for sports. And so when he got here early, he met the new Indiana basketball coach in 1971, Bob Knight. And I think of because how smart Hammel was, not just with sports, but I think with other things like history and politics, those kind of things. That's how him and Knight became great friends. And it got to a point where everywhere, even up until literally the day Knight died in 2023, he was always with Bob Hammel. When he was in Indiana, even after he got fired, he was always with Bob Hammel. Every public appearance he would make, that like every speaking engagement when he would go, and he was still speaking and would go out and speak up until about 2019. And that's when people really started to notice that his dementia was taking over, and Bob Hammel was always there right by his side. And even Pat has told me that he said one time Mr. Hammel was still coming over to the house even until he died. He may have even been there when Knight died. Now that I think about it, he was just such a great friend to Coach Knight. And not only that, he was just such a recognizable face within the program. He became one of those kind of background people that, like, if you weren't really, if you were a fan, but you didn't, if you were a fan, but you were a casual fan, you wouldn't have noticed him. You wouldn't even know who he is. But if you were a real dedicated fan and you read A Season on the Brink, where he's mentioned a lot, you know, his perspective is in that thing a lot, then you knew who Bob Hammel was. Indiana, and maybe it's just because I'm a fan and I'm into that kind of stuff, but Indiana has had so many kind of notable, I don't want to say background characters, but they're side characters. They're people you don't think about that have always been there at Indiana and have always been involved at Indiana. Some of those names that come to mind are Don Fisher. I mean, he's always been associated with Indiana. A guy by the name of Tim Garl, who was the longtime athletic trainer for the basketball team, who was just let go this offseason. I think another one of those people is Bob Hammel as well. It wasn't shocking. There was an article that came out in the Indianapolis Star. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago at the end of June, I think it was, maybe early July, that Doyle put out there that he was in hospice care for a while. And so it was not shocking that he had died, but it certainly was saddening because he did so much, not just for Indiana, but just for the community of Bloomington. He was one of the most recognizable sports writers in the state, and people loved reading his work. And he was a great author. He was just such a great ambassador for the city of Bloomington and for Indiana University. So Bob Hammel will be missed. I can only imagine the reunion with Coach Knight in the afterlife and beyond.
Thank you so much once again to Grant for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report and talking about his passion, IU sports. Of course, we will have an IU report every week, at least through the end of the men's basketball season. And when the season begins, we will also have a preview of every IU game with Grant, and we will recap and get Grant's reaction to every game. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with the IU fan in your life to help spread the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report. We're here talking Central Indiana sports every single day. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.